Hi, welcome to SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. This is our preview of UFC 149. We preview every single UFC here on SBRforum.com. We are joined once again by Nick Kalikas, premier MMA oddsmaker and consultant for DSI Sportsbook. And today we're also going to be joined by Case Keefer, who is an MMA writer and a gambling writer for the Las Vegas Sun. Thanks, guys, for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be back.
All right, UFC 149. Now, the main event is Faber and Barao, and this is a very interesting fight to me. Very interesting fight. Barao is minus 185 as a favorite. Faber on the other side is plus 155, and there's a lot of interesting factors. I'll just run down the basics right here. Basically, Faber is the most famous 130-pound, 5-pound fighter in the world, right? Would you agree with that?
It's hard to argue. Yeah, I mean, lighter weight classes, period. In the world, you could say, as far as for MMA and the lighter weight classes, because he did fight at featherweight before too. Right. So yeah, for the lighter weight guys, he's definitely like the premier guy.
Right. So Barao is not as well known as Faber, but he's on a 31-fight winning streak. 31-fight winning streak. Case Keefer, what do you make of that?
I think that really means something anytime in MMA when you win that many in a row. I mean, you're going to have bad days. That's just an incredible number, and I think it's pretty reflective of the talent level of Renan Barao.
Yeah, so both of these guys have great talent level here, and Faber was supposed to fight, of course, Cruz for the title, and then Cruz had to bow because of an injury, so Dana White comes in and gives him Barao, and all of a sudden Faber finds himself as a pretty decent-sized underdog, just to get to Cruz, a fight that he was supposed to have anyway. And Nick, what do you make of that?
Well, he would have been a 2-1 dog near that, or a little bit higher against Dominic Cruz. So coincidentally, it's sitting around 2-1 right now for against Barao. And I opened the line though, minus 115 on the Oddsmaker show that we do. And it hit the books at minus 130 because both of our guests ended up coming in that way. So we adjusted and went to 130 when it did hit the sports books. And public has been coming in obviously all over Barao in this fight. They believe the hype, and I'm a little bit surprised because the line I think is a little bit too steep at this point. I understand what they're saying. He's definitely a talented guy, and I thought if anybody could dethrone Cruz, it's probably this guy. But I think maybe they're underestimating Urijah Faber in this fight. I mean, not just because of the star power, the name that he's got. I mean, he's built that rep for a reason, though, too. I mean, he's so talented. His wrestling's awesome. His stand-up game, we continue to see improve time after time. Obviously, he's got wrestling to back all that stuff up. So Faber's definitely a talented guy. Yeah. And this is a 5-round fight, so I'm thinking that the public might be a little bit off here because if he does manage to survive, I think Faber probably steals round 4 or 5. And if one of the first 3 are close, you could see him squeak away with a decision here.
Case Keefer, what do you think about these lines? Do you think Faber has a little bit of value at plus 155?
Yeah, I think it's a little outrageous, to be honest. If you're asking me just to pick a winner of the fight, I'm probably going Renan Barao, but I'm no more confident than maybe like a 55-45 proposition. I would take Renan Barao to pick him price, but I think Urijah at plus 150, I think he's worthwhile. I think even if you look at where the advantages in this fight are, I think it's hard to say that Renan Barao, a lot of people are saying he's faster than Urijah Faber. I don't know about that. I mean, Urijah Faber's no slouch himself. They both have a ton of finishing capabilities. I don't think one guy's more likely to finish the other. So I think at a plus price, even though I kind of like Renan Barao to win the fight, I think the value is on Faber.
You think so? All right, well, what do you mean? I mean, Faber, I just mentioned Barao has won 31 fights in a row. Faber is not. I think Faber's lost 3 or 4 out of his last 10 fights or something like that. So what do you think is going to be different about this fight for both of them?
Well, going back to what you mentioned earlier, Renan Barao's on a great streak, and he's beaten some good guys. Scott Jorgensen, I guess, was his last fight, but he hasn't fought a guy on Faber's level quite yet. And another thing I kind of like in Urijah Faber's corner, I guess, is if it goes to decision and there's a bunch of close rounds, I can see the judges just siding with Faber, kind of they know him better. I feel like to win this fight, Renan Barao's really going to have to take rounds from Urijah Faber, and I could just easily see this being a 5-round, war, kind of really close, and I could see Faber squeaking out a controversial decision.
All right, Nick, why do you think there's been so much money on Barao?
Because of what he's accomplished lately, I think, and for some reason, when you get a talented Brazilian fighter, the general public automatically sees that Jose Aldo factor in them. So there's maybe a little bit more hype with these guys from Brazil that are coming out that are well-rounded as these guys. I mean, they're dangerous on the ground. They're dangerous, obviously, on the feet. They're getting a lot better. The wrestling is getting to the point where it's hard to take some of these guys down. I mean, Jose Aldo, Brazil's not really known for wrestling, and we've seen what he's done in the past and how awesome he is at keeping the fight on the feet. Now, Barao's a different story, though. I think that he's going to probably get taken down in this fight. Maybe not the first couple rounds. It might be a little bit tougher for Faber. But, again, I think he's got that experience experience edge. He's been in the water in fire with a lot of these guys. I mean, a lot of the top guys in the sport. He's already been there with Aldo. I mean, he's coming off. Eddie Wineland just recently impressed. Faber kind of had his way with him as well. So if you look at his resume, I think that Faber's been put through the harder fights. He's got, I mean, experience a lot of times doesn't really play too much of a factor, but in this particular fight, a 5-round title fight, he's been in the spotlight before, he's been in that position before, he can definitely go 5 rounds. I think that you almost have to make a play at this this particular number, but I agree with Case. Now we haven't even discussed this, and we're totally in agreement, like off camera or anything. Mm-hmm. It's the first time we've talked about this fight at all. So him and I basically feel the same way, and I think a lot of sharp bettors are probably going to feel that way too as we get closer to fight time, maybe even on fight day and drop the line a little bit.
All right, let me ask you very quickly about this factor then, okay? Faber is 33 years old. He's been knocked out twice in his career. Barao is 25 years old, never been knocked out. And, a lot of people say that in these lower weight divisions that age matters more than it does in the higher weight divisions. Case Keefer, what do you think about that?
I think I was worried about that maybe a year ago when Urijah was dropping down to bantamweight, but I think he's kind of gotten rid of any of those concerns. I mean, look, he lost to Dominic Cruz the last time they fought, but he looked, pretty good. It was a close fight, even though Dominic did win, 3 or 4 of the rounds. And then against Brian Bowles, I mean, he's older than him, and he just looked a step faster. He still had his power, obviously. So I think while that was a valid concern a little bit ago, I think Faber's recent performances have kind of alleviated some of those fears.
You think so? Nick, what do you make of that factor? Do you think maybe the public is seeing something here that we're underestimating, that maybe Faber's a little bit, on the old side of things and a little bit on the ring-weary side of things, or octagon-weary side of things?
It could be. I mean, the sad thing is you just never know. It just happens in one fight quick exactly. Sometimes with guys. Could this be the fight? Yes. I don't think a lot of people are basing their bets on this. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people are basing their bets, like I said, on a new Brazilian coming out there. Now the public knows who. I mean, maybe the diehard fans at least know who he is. I mean, maybe the general public knows obviously Faber a lot more than Barao, but I think the diehard MMA fans know how talented this kid is, and they think he's probably going to maybe take the title from Faber this weekend and then contend and maybe even give Dominic Cruz a challenge. Like I said, before I made this particular fight odds, I thought the same thing. I thought maybe that Barao would be the man to contend and take Cruz's belt, but I think Faber's going to give him a lot of trouble in this particular fight. So that's just the way I'm leaning now. I think ultimately, for Barao to win this fight, he has to stop Urijah. Now, I wouldn't be shocked if that happens, though. I mean, on the feet, like I said, he's that talented. On the ground, Faber, I think, is game enough to basically neutralize anything that Barao throws off his back. So I don't think he's going to get subbed, but we could see a rock Faber getting subbed out, or vice versa. I mean, these guys are definitely capable of finishing, as Case mentioned. But I think the most common thing, it does go to decision. Yeah. So that's why I'm a little bit leaning more towards Faber in this fight.
Right. Yeah, makes sense to me.